Everybody, welcome to this first video in the EV 4 lab series. In these videos, I just want to go over, some introduction to the lab experiment. So in this first experiment, we're going to be setting up a simple transmit and receive system. So we're going to be using this ADALM-Pluto software-defined radio active learning module from Analog Devices that our department has provided us. I think enough modules for everyone, to get their own, or at least to have a group of 2 or 3 people that have it. And so this is the radio that we'll be using. As you can see, it has the transmit port and receive port here on these little end of the radio. And then on this other side, it has a USB data port and a USB power port, right? So you can't program the radio from this port. So whenever you need to, program it, make sure you're connected to this guy with the USB symbol on it. Before we get into talking about the radio, so this lab, we're mostly just going to be setting up the software side of things. And that's mostly going to deal with MATLAB and Simulink. Just for a good portion of this first section, we're just going to be installing MATLAB and various toolboxes that are required, right? So once you have MATLAB installed, and you'll probably need to install a version before 2024, right? So I've got 2023 opened up here. And that's just because it seems like the support package to the ADALM-Pluto for the 2024 MATLAB version hasn't been released yet. So I would advise you, I need to revise this actually to say something before 2024. And so once you have MATLAB installed, right, you can open MATLAB up. And here on the Home tab, you click on add-ons. And we're going to look for the ADALM-Pluto communication toolbox support package. Once this opens up, and so you'll get that package installed on your machine. I've got it here on mine already, so if I just look up ADALM-Pluto, it could pop up right here. And so here where it says manage, if you don't have it on your machine, it will say install, and then you'll go through the installation process to get this toolbox on your machine. All right, and so a good portion of this lab session, just going forward, we're going to be doing a lot of deep dive into the documentation that MathWorks provides. Because I found in previous years, giving people example code to copy and paste was not very pedagogically sound. So we're going to open up, these various toolbox references. And, instead of feeding you example code, you'll do some deep dive into the different parts of these references because they're hard to navigate sometimes, right? For this first part, we're just looking at the configure Pluto radio function, right? So if we go back to the reference manual, you can see on the left here, contents, you can find function, configure Pluto radio, and that's just kind of like the, general advice on navigating the documentation. So here again, we are using the DSP system toolbox, and that's step further on. And it says to look at a chirp system object. So if we go to our documentation here, there is a section in the table of contents called system object. And somewhere along along the line here is a chirp object, so you'll get to explore that. And the last thing of reference that we're making is the example code that we used a couple years ago. And so instead of just, running this example code, you're going to get the chance to modify it with your chirp signal, because in this example, we're just looking at a simple, single tone sine wave, but we're going to see what happens when we try to transmit a chirp signal instead. That is pretty much all I want to go over for this exploration part. For the procedure, so the tool, not the toolbox, your radio kit comes with a few different antennas, and I'm not sure that there's a good picture of that anywhere here. I can sure that if you look up with that cable. So somewhere in your kit is a SMA loopback cable that you'll just tie both ends of your radio to, to give a straight dot panel there. And then also in your kit is a set of antennas, smaller looking antennas, and you'll get to connect those and see the difference in the frequency spectrum, that received signal. Play around with different antenna configurations and behavior, especially looking at the noise floor, how the different antenna configurations impacts the noise floor and the signal to noise ratio. So I think that's all I want to talk about for the first experiment. I'll be in the lab session for the first hour or so to help out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. You can get me at this email. Yeah, thanks for tuning in.